I'd like to call to order the July meeting of the New Bern Board of Adjustment. We have roll call.
Richard Parsons, Peter Dillon,
Present.
Jim Morrison,
Here.
John Riggs,
Here.
John Murrell,
Here.
Kip Paragoy,
Here.
Barbara Sampson,
Here.
Jonathan Foster, Ross Beebe. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Our new business this evening is consideration of an appeal of a Historic Preservation Commission denial of a Certificate of Appropriateness for the property located at 215 Pollock Street and is further identified as Craven County Parcel number 8-001-B-161. Would the city staff like to present this to the board?
Mr. Chairman, I think I might be helpful in that respect. Scott Davis, City Attorney. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is an appeal from an HPC decision back in September of 2019. Appeals of an HPC decision for a Certificate of Appropriateness is a quasi-judicial hearing, and you are reviewing this matter for procedural errors in the statutes. In our code, it's called a de novo hearing. That means you are simply looking back at the record to see if there was a procedural mistake that was made. This is not a new trial where you will hear evidence about the Certificate of Appropriateness. I think I can make this quite easy for you. Mr. Shelley has prepared an affidavit. Is that necessary?
Yeah, and they're up there as well.
Mr. Shelley has prepared an affidavit. The burden is on the applicant to identify a procedural error. I'm going to make that very easy and concede out of the gate that there was, in fact, a procedural error made. According to Mr. Shelley's affidavit, the applicant was to pay an application fee. When you apply for a Certificate of Appropriateness, a fee is due of $107. This application was submitted. It was calendared for review, but before the fee was paid, the Historic Preservation Commission actually processed and heard the application. So in my view, that voids the application. There was no basis to go forward because the fee had not been paid. Additionally, I'm a little bothered by the fact that the applicant, prior to the hearing date, advised staff that he could not attend the hearing in September due to a trip out of town. Staff at the time mistakenly believed that the application had to be processed within 60 days, otherwise it would have been approved, when in fact it's not 60 days, it is 6 months. So for those two reasons, first being the failure to pay the fee, in my view, doesn't create any jurisdiction in the HPC to actually hear the application. And secondly, as a matter of fundamental fairness, the applicant should have had an opportunity to present his case, be present at that meeting or the meeting that would have been in October, so that the board could have heard his side of it and considered the facts from his point of view. So for those reasons, I'm asking you to grant the appeal, find that the fee wasn't paid based on the affidavit, find that the request was made to continue that wasn't offered to him, and send this matter to the HPC so that the applicant can pay his fee and then go through the process to have his matter heard. And I believe the applicant's here, and he may have some additional comments. If so, he's welcome to present them. Yeah, sure.
Do we need to swear in
Yes,
anyone
please.
speaking to us
Yes.
this evening?
Yeah, if you'll just affirm, we don't have a Bible tonight, so we'll have to do an affirmation.
Okay, that's fine.
So you swear,
Affirm.
you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth,
Yeah, I just want to say that there's the whole process.
Would you state your name and address, please, for the records?
Mr. DePesa, and I'm the owner of the Benjamin Ellis House at 215 Pollock Street. I just wanted to say that this whole process, I was denied due process from the very beginning. I've been through three city administrators. The first one gave me advice which I was then told was incorrect. The second one then proceeded with the hearing with the HPC without following the guidelines. He did not provide me any documentation within 48 hours I was supposed to receive all the documentation that the HPC members were supposed to receive. That was never provided. I was never asked to pay an application fee when I turned in my application. I was actually railroaded into providing an application because the administrator, without identifying himself, came onto my property and forced work to stop on the roof, which then immediately said, and he said I had to have a certificate, which the prior administrator said I did not need. So this whole process has been a disaster. It has not been well managed. It has not been very professional. And as you can see, I'm standing here a year after the work, and it still has not been resolved. And I would like to get it resolved fairly, but I believe that I deserve a fair process going forward.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that would like to, in the audience, that would like to make comments about the appeal that's being presented?
Good evening. My name is Denny Bucher. I live in the Dunn Building right across the street. Excuse me. And I own the parking lot, which is within 100 feet of this property. First of all, I want to thank all of you for what you do, your time that you come and volunteer to support our community. What you do is important, and I appreciate it. I'm only going to make a couple of quick comments, and that is that I know we have rules and we have policies, and I'm not sure what the exact process is tonight. Sir Davis tried to explain it to me, but by the way, I am the county commissioner for this district, so it's not a volunteer, but it's almost a volunteer job. So my only comment would be that Gretchen and Tracy have really been hit hard between the hurricane and then taking out their personal residence, which was behind their property that we're speaking about, and then damaging that property, and the loss of revenue has really been a hardship on them. And then secondly, the virus, which obviously affected their business greatly. So I know we have rules, and I know we have process we have to go through, right, Matthew? I understand all that. I guess all I'm looking for is sometimes we have to apply grace, and as to the degree that you can do that, I would request that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If
Kathleen Krause. I'm at 219 Pollock, which is right next door to the Benjamin Ellis. Like Mr. Bucher, I'm not here to, I guess, question the rules, the guidelines, the COA, anything of that nature. I guess what I would like for the HPC board to consider is the improvement to this property, to take it from what it was to what it is now. They've invested a lot of money. Aesthetically, it looks beautiful. And further, they've spent a lot of money to preserve a beautiful historic property. I hope you consider that. Thank you.
just for clarification, we're not considering that at all. All we're going to be looking at this evening is procedural issues that have caused the appeal to be processed. This is not the HPC board, and we don't want to be the HPC board, okay? But thank you for your comments, but I just want to make sure you understand that all we're voting on this evening is whether or not there was a procedural error in the HPC process that occurred that denied due process for the applicant at that particular juncture. Okay?
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you. All right, if that's the case, then I'd like to close public comment period. All in favor of closing public comment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, public comment is over. Board, at this time, again, you heard my little speech just then, make sure that we understand what we're dealing with this evening. It's not whether the house is pretty or the HPC rules are unfair or anything else. The only thing we're looking at is a procedural process that occurred. Should it have occurred that way? And if it did not occur in a proper sequence, then is there a ground for the appeal to be upheld? And at which time, if we uphold that, the issue goes back to HPC and starts all over again. And that's all we're doing this evening. Does anybody have questions for Mr. Davis?
One thing I'll add, Mr. Chairman, I skipped past a very important fact, and that was the fact that the HPC denied the Certificate of Appropriateness. So if you were to simply deny the pending appeal, that decision would stand. And what I'm asking you to do is to not do that. Conversely, I'm actually siding with the applicant and pointing out two procedural mistakes, one that is absolutely fatal in my mind about not paying the fee, in which case you could, in a sense, grant the appeal so that the matter is referred back to the HPC so the applicant has a fair shake at the process.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Davis, anyone?
I have just one question.
Sure.
If you'll bear with me. This is more, I guess, from a procedural standpoint. Having done, not applications in New Bern, but other places, for some city reviews, city services, whatever, I guess I'm familiar with the form that is the application itself. Does our application here to the HPC have any verbiage in there about the fee? Does it say, by the way, by filing this application, we require an administrative fee of X?
Yes, is that on the front page? Do you have an example of one? Yes, sir. Top left corner. Typical government, bureaucracy boxes for government use only. Yeah, it's right there.
Okay. There was more curiosity than anything else.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Not an indictment of
yes, sir.
not reading the form correctly.
Yes, sir. I think, and not just like Mr. Shelley, who's doing a fine job, but I believe this application came through in the very early days of his commencement of employment with the city. So lots to get to speed on very quickly, and I think that's how it felt it cracks.
Any other questions for Mr. Davis or anyone?
I think if you're ready, I'll make a motion that we affirm the appeal, and findings of fact are that the hearing should not have been held without the payment of a fee.
I could approach you.
And you have okay. Wow, mine was shorter.
Yeah.
You can summarize.
Okay, the findings of fact, repeat that we affirm the appeal, and the findings of fact are that the application's failure to pay the administrative fee required for the HPC to process, and here the application voids the HPC's decision, as the HPC had no jurisdiction to hear an application for which the fee had not yet been paid. And secondly, They did not provide any basis for the rejecting the applicant's request to continue the application hearing until the following month, when the applicant advised staff he would not be able to attend the September 2019 meeting. Therefore, the board's conclusion that the decision of the Historic Preservation Commission to deny the applicant's application for a COA on September 25th is void, September 25th, 2019 is void, and that this matter be remanded to the HPC so that the applicant may pay the administrative fee associated with the application for its COA and proceed to have the HPC hear its application.
Right. We have a motion,
I second that.
and we have a second. Is there any further discussion about the motion that's been made? Or what's going to happen with the basis of this motion? Okay. We'll have roll call.
Richard Parsons, Peter Dillon,
Yes.
Jim Morrison,
Yes.
John Riggs,
Yes.
John Murrell,
Yes.
Kit Paragoy,
Yes.
Barbara Sampson.
Yes.
Motion carries. The appeal has been upheld. Okay. If you look at your agenda, the next item on the agenda is adjournment. Anybody got anything to say about that? Like a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. have a motion
Second that.
And a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned until August. Thank you all for being here this evening.